Well, folks, Football Manager 2023 is finally out on PlayStation 5. Should we have a little look to see how it plays? Hello, folks, and welcome to my first look at FM23 on the PS5. I'm Kev. If you are new to Football Manager, now it's finally dropped on the PS5. I make daily Football Manager content, largely on the PC version, but I've also done first look videos at the Xbox console version, Switch, Steam Deck, the mobile version, the iPad. There's lots of content if you are looking to break into Football Manager and not sure where to start. So make sure you have a nose around on the channel, subscribe, turn your notifications on, all that good stuff. And if you have found this video helpful, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. So, as you can see, we have got the PlayStation 5 version of FM23 up and running, ready to go. I've not started it up yet. I mean, full disclosure, if you are watching this having already watched my first look at the Xbox version, to the best of my knowledge, and I do stand ready to be corrected when we get into the game, but to the best of my knowledge, it's the exact same game. It's Football Manager 23 console. This is the PlayStation 5 version. The Xbox version came out on launch day, but for whatever reason, I'm still not really sure what the reason is. For whatever reason, the PS5 version has been delayed several months, but there's just your confirmation of how to do the control. Oh, goodness me, it's got sound. I wasn't expecting it to have sound. I don't know if my capture card is picking up sound, or whether that's just going to sound horrible coming through the microphone. We might have to turn sound off as a matter of urgency. Let's just mute the monitor, shall we, so that you don't have to hear sounds coming through on here. There we go. Monitor is muted. If they are coming through the capture card, then maybe they are. Hopefully they're quieter and less annoying than they are blasting out through my TV. So there's lots of setting things we can fiddle around with, but we're not really bothered about fiddling around with the settings. We do just have to accept the privacy policy. And then when you get in, there are a number of different ways that you can play the game, both in single player and online. So lots of people have been asking about online. Again, to the best of my knowledge, I don't believe there is cross-play between the Xbox and the PlayStation versions. If I'm wrong about that, and we might find out when we get stuck into the game, but feel free to correct me down in the comments section. That's what it's there for. But you can play an online career and network game with friends who are also within the PlayStation ecosystem. You can play an online fantasy draft, or you can do the online versus mode and versus mode. In fact, versus mode and fantasy draft. In fact, I think any of these options, they don't actually have to be friends. You can just go online and join a random game, although I would suggest that trying to join a random online career will be next to impossible, whereas it might be a little bit easier to find a versus game online. But the standard way to play Football Manager is in single player, where you've got career mode, and as you can see, it recommends playing career mode if you are new. You can do a creator club, which, as the name suggests, is a career mode, but you create a club from scratch, or there are a number of challenges within the game. These are things like do a youth-only challenge, or a challenge where you have to have X number of young players in your team, or your club is nearly bankrupt, or you're bottom of the league at Christmas. There's various challenges that have been in the touch version of the game that's been on iPad and Switch and Xbox for a number of years, and they are in there. But we're just going to have a look at the basic career mode. We're going to start a new game on career mode. Do I consider myself an experienced Football Manager player? Yes, I do. Obviously, if you are completely new, put no there, because it will help you more with tutorials. And it is a game that does have quite a steep learning curve when you're first jumping into it. There's a lot going on, and the more the tutorials are there to help you out, the better. So one thing we do seem to have different control-wise compared to the other console versions, it does make use of the touchpad thing in the middle of the PlayStation controller. So some of the stuff that's done with some of the other face buttons on the other console versions, it looks like they've just moved it to that. So it's just bringing you up the menu if you want to have a look in the menu. So let's just pick a team to start off with. So what is the enter button? I'm assuming X. It is X. There we go. And I guess we'll just pick Arsenal, and right trigger to create a game. Which button is the right trigger? There you go. I don't play on my PlayStation a lot. Can you tell? I literally just use this for FIFA for a couple of months. before Football Manager comes out every year, and then it just kind of sits there. So I'm more used to the Xbox and the Switch controller layout. So for it to be called R2, I had to work out which one was R2. Right, it should be RT. I'm an Xbox guy. That's guaranteeing thumbs downs on this PlayStation video, isn't it? Right, I'm going to do all this setting up my character off camera because it's literally just me adding in my name and stuff. And if you really want to see me doing this kind of stuff, like I say, I've got other first looks on other versions of the game where you can watch me type things into a screen, but you don't need to watch me do it again. So there you go. We are in. I am the new manager of Arsenal, and straight away I can see that the control system is very, very similar. And by similar, I mean exactly the same as what it is on the other console versions. So you've got the left trigger, which brings up the menu down the left-hand side. You can then navigate around using the D-pad and select the different things that you might need to select. You also have that the menu thing across the top of the screen, which you can use the top shoulder button. So that's what's that, R1 and L1 on PlayStation to move around between the different things that you've got up there. The right trigger, R2, is the equivalent of the space bar if you've played the PC version, which is just going to move you through the different options. And it's like a context sensitive kind of thing. At the moment, it will take me to my next unread inbox message. And again, next unread inbox message. And now it's got something I have to respond to. And when you have to respond to something, it gives you certain buttons that you can press. So at the moment, if we want to negotiate the club vision, we press the square. If we're happy to accept it, we press the triangle. The other thing that we've got is if we press the button formerly known as the start button. I don't even know what that button's called on a PlayStation these days. It brings up the stuff that's in that menu on the right-hand side of the screen. And lastly, to show our inbox as a list, we can just press the right stick in and out. The other thing that you are able to do, which I think you do by pressing and holding the left stick. Yeah, if you press and hold the left stick in, this is something that as a new player, you might not immediately notice, but if you press and hold the left stick in, your left stick becomes a mouse pointer. For me, this is probably the easier way to navigate around the game because it's what I'm more used to rather than if we go back to this version where it's all about moving around in the different menus and then you're using the left stick to get into this menu and then the D-pad to move around within it and then you're selecting it and moving the D-pad some more. For me, just having this and being able to go straight to, yeah, we're going to negotiate and then we're going to take this off. I mean, it's not as easy to aim with as a mouse, but, you know, to me, that's easier to do than having to left stick to that, move the D-pad, then press on it, and then I guess we press it and there you go. There's more button pressing involved. So you've got both ways to do it. If you do find the menus clunky, you can use the left stick. What I found playing the Switch version, which is probably the mobile version I've played more than any other, you do kind of get used to the way the menus are set up. It's something they've worked on quite a lot in recent years to make it a lot more fluid and a lot easier to work around. So it is a better system than it has been previously. There's the Dynamic Manager timeline, one of the new features on FM23 this year. I haven't had to talk about the Dynamic Manager timeline since launch day. So when it comes to what feature set is in the game, maybe you've seen my videos on the PC and you're wondering whether you should pick up the PlayStation version. The console version isn't quite as feature rich as the PC version. It is slimmed down to make it easier to play on a console. But contrary to popular belief, not because consoles can't cope with the full version of the game, it's more because the game is very fiddly to control as is. So they've taken out the bits that would be even more fiddly. So for example, on your tactics screen, rather than having 3 different tactics loaded that you then have to build up tactical familiarity for like you have on the PC, it's a very simple. You have one tactic loaded. They immediately get full tactical familiarity as soon as you use the tactic, and then you can just change it to a different one either in the presets or moving things around manually. You can change it to a different preset. When it changes to the different preset, again, they're immediately already fully tactical familiarity with it. So you don't have to mess around with that side of things. Training as well is far less complicated and intense than it is on the PC version. Similar to on the PC, you can either do it yourself or leave your assistant manager to do it. So to do it yourself, it is just a case of deciding where your training is going to be focused. So at the moment, we're focusing on balanced. You might decide that because it's pre-season, we'd be better off focusing on physical, or you can just leave it in the hands of the assistant managers, which is what I would do like 9 times out of 10, probably 10 times. I can't think of a circumstance where I need to take over that trading myself. Staff is also not as in-depth as it is on the PC version, as the version you'll see me playing in my daily videos, which you should check out. They're quite good. You just have a few different key members of staff. You're not like hiring a team of 25 scouts. You'll just have a chief scout, and the chief scout basically controls all of the scouting stuff. So much more slimmed down version of staff. You do still have the data hub, which we can't look at until we've played a few matches. And everything else is pretty similar. I don't think there's any other big things that are missing from this version compared to the PC. You don't have as much of the player interaction and media interaction as you do in the full fat PC version. So press conferences, team talks, things like that are largely non-existent. You occasionally get asked a media question that you have to answer via the inbox. But if that kind of almost busy work kind of stuff that I personally don't really enjoy in the PC version, it's kind of taken out the stuff that's a little bit repetitive and time consuming and really slimmed it down to the core of the game. The new recruitment system is in, and you can see we've immediately got some recruitment focuses and some players that have come up off the back of our recruitment focuses. I haven't actually looked how much budget we've got to spend here at Arsenal. So if we go into the finances, we've got £26 million to spend. I suspect that's not going to be enough to sign Victor Osimhen, but we can have a little look and hold on. See what I mean about this system being clunky? What I actually want to do is just click on Victor Osimhen, which I can do using the pointer. So for Victor Osimhen, if we have a look at the top on his reports, we can see his transfer value is quite a lot higher than what we're able to spend. I mean, we can try and make an offer for him. Let's make an offer. You can do the never stuff that I do on the PC. So we know we've only got 25 million for now, so we can take this down to an amount that we can afford for now. Just hold that right stick down. I think you can do the drop down menus. You can. So if we offer, say, 20 million up front, and then we can offer installments for an amount that would cover the rest of that. What was it? 74 million value. So if we put installments on for, let's say, 50 million, put this up to 25, you would think that controls. Oh, the controls. Let's go back to the mouse pointer. Let's try that again. So transfer. It takes some getting used to. Luckily, the offer that we did before is still there, so we can now suggest terms. They've declined to give an immediate decision. So we'll put an extra, let's put an extra 500,000 on, make the offer, and we can see what they say. I'm not saying Arsenal need to sign Victor Osimhen. It's just that he is there. So I guess he's there as an option. But I think the other thing that everyone, of course, is going to want to see is a match. So let's play a match. Oh, of course, something else you're all going to ask is about the licenses and graphics and stuff. It's all the same as on the PC. If you are new to Football Manager because it's just appeared on PlayStation, be aware that the game doesn't have the licenses for Premier League teams or players. With the exception, they do have 2 Premier League team licenses. So if you're a Manchester City fan, you're in luck. Your team is fully licensed. So you can see they've got the official badge, the official kits. They've got the proper player faces and stuff. So if we want to have a look at Kevin De Bruyne, sultry glare into a camera, we can. Brighton are the other licensed team. But if you look at any other team, obviously we can see with this Arsenal team that we're, how do we get to the club? There we go. We don't have a badge. We don't have kits. And if we have a look into our playing squad, obviously the players are all there. It's not Pro Evo classic style where it's all slightly different fake names, but what we don't have is pictures. So no pictures, no kits, no badges for the unlicensed league. So the Premier League doesn't have the license. The rest of the Football League in England does. So if you want to play in the Championship, League One, League Two, you're good. And the Champions League and all the UEFA competitions are actually fully licensed, and some of the other European leagues are licensed as well. So it's a little bit hit and miss whether or not it's going to have the graphical stuff in that you want. And it is worth bearing in mind that unlike on the PC version, that's not something you can mod on PlayStation. I know it's a thing that a lot of people have asked me on Twitter. It is not moddable. You can't add in the player faces, the badges and things like that, like you can on the PC. But let's jump forward a bit and play a match just so you can see the match engine running on PlayStation. So we've got a match against Sporting tomorrow. So we should be able to just jump forward to that. There's another example of an unlicensed team. Napoli aren't licensed in Football Manager at all. So they're in as Parthenope, which, again, there's nothing you can do about that on this version of the game. We're just going to quick pick our team for the purposes of this friendly. We're not going to mess around and do anything tactically. We're just going to leave all as is, because all we really want to do is see how this plays in the match engine. And I assume the match sounds are going to come on. Again, if you are completely new off the back of this being new to PlayStation, it might be a little bit jarring that there's no sound actually in the game. We do have the match sound that I'm now turning off, just because otherwise you're not going to be able to hear me over it. It does get pretty loud, but there's no background music or anything like that. That is how it's supposed to be. I know it's a little bit different from how a typical PlayStation game would be. The only music you've got is the Champions League and Europa League and Conference League music before those matches, and the only sounds you get are those match sounds that we just heard and then immediately removed. I'm just going to customize my view to make it look the way I like to have the game set up. So I like TV view with a low camera height. Which button do we do for that? There we go. And I like to be zoomed in nicely. That match speed is good for me. We want it on key highlights, and we'll leave it on director for replays. So now we've got all the settings up and running. We can jump into the match. What you saw very briefly there is one of the differences between this console version and the version that you get on the PC. And it's a difference I actually quite like. And it's that in-game match day tablet screen. I think it's really cool the way it actually looks like a tablet. It's just a little touch. It's called the Matchday tablet, and it doesn't really look like a tablet on PC, but it does on this version. Although you don't get to see it very often. But this, we finally get a little bit of play in a highlight. So I mean, it looks. It's the same. It's the PC version, isn't it? If anything, I think we're zoomed in ever so slightly further. It might just be because playing it on a console, everything is a little bit more zoomed in, but the players look a little bit bigger. You can clearly see they're not wearing properly licensed kits. It is what it is. You're not playing Football Manager for the graphics. If you think you are, you're not. You're playing it for the fact it's a fun game to play, because you get to pretend to be a football manager, and everyone wants to do that. If you need to make any changes mid-match, by the way, they're all on this little bar along the bottom of the screen. So the artist, formerly known as the start button, brings you to the tactical change screen where you can make substitutions. You can actually change your instructions mid-match by using the R3 button, or change your mentality using the square. And I think it's triangle for shouts, which we can't do shouts at halftime. If we do L2, it brings up the tablet that we were talking about before, which gives you all sorts of in-match state. You can bring this up at any time while the match is going on. And like I said before, I really like this compared to the PC version. You've got, if anything, more data on it. Yeah, you have to scroll around between the different pages on it. I think this is awesome. I'd like this to be implemented into the PC version. I think it's really great. And you can just bring it up whenever you want. So, Bukayo Saka is slightly injured. It's recommending a substitution to me. So this is where you could go into the start menu and those tactic screens. I'm just going to press this square, the X button, and do the change that it suggests. We can, there you go, bring the tablet up or put it down during the match at will. And yeah, it is the triangle button to do shouts, and it brings up this little wheel, which you can then choose a limited number of shouts compared to what you get on the PC version. We've only got 4 to choose from. But I mean, let's face it, if you're anything like me, you only use like 2 anyway. You're either demanding more or you're encouraging. You may be praise. I bet they're all in here. Praise, demand more. Okay, we don't have praise, but I think those 4 are probably all you actually need. Right, we're going to adjust our mentality because we want to win this match. So we're going to go attacking. So you can see our tactical change is now pending along the bottom of the screen, and we've got an attack going. So if we wanted to change this instruction that we've just done, you can see, or you might not be able to see, my head might be in the way. But you can cancel it using the circle button. And Gabriel Jesus has just scored the opening goal. Our system change worked. It hasn't actually gone through yet, but I'm absolutely going to take the credit for it. And now we get a replay. using our chosen replay. As you can see, it's just zoomed out a little bit and giving us a little bit more of the pitch to view. There are lots of different customizations you can do to this in-game view to make it look how you want it to look. I've made it look as close to how it looks on my PC version as possible. Interesting, when you put the tablet up, it auto pauses. That's actually quite cool as well. So if you want to just go and have a look at some other stuff, I guess there's the slight frustration that you can't look at things like the league table while the match is actually playing, which is a little bit restrictive compared to what we have on the PC. I thought we were going to just have a spectacular own goal there. Maybe we still will. There's still time. That has been a little bit of a theme of Football Manager 2023 and the other versions of the game. I assume that carries through to this PlayStation version as well. Sometimes you get some slightly iffy goalkeeping, but I mean, it was fine. They got away with it there. I think I'm going to make a couple of substitutions. This is our first friendly in mid-July, so we probably don't want to be playing players for the entire match. So let's just make a few changes. So this is where I'd probably, see, I'm going to go with the pointer again because I just think the pointer is better. So we're going to bring on Nketiah to, okay. Okay, so we want to bring him on for Jesus. There we go. We'll bring on Ben White. And he can come on for Tomiyasu. And goodness me, this pre-transfer window Arsenal bench is weak, isn't it? If you are wondering, obviously the game has come out at the start of February and the transfers are only updated until the end of August. The January transfer window will be reflected in-game, but not just yet. There's usually a January transfer window data patch that comes out late February, early March. So expect all of the latest transfers to be in the game in an update that comes out probably within the first 4 to 6 weeks of the game releasing. So you're just going to have to make do with squads as they were at the end of the summer transfer window initially. But like I say, that is a situation that will change relatively soon. And to be honest, if you're going to get into Football Manager, you will still be playing it in 4 to 6 weeks. Don't you worry. It's not the kind of game you play for a couple of weeks and then put down. It's the kind of game you lose yourself in for the rest of your life. I started playing it when I was about 11 years old, and now I have this big long beard and sit in this cupboard playing it all day, every day. Nearly 30 years later. It gets its claws into you, this game. I promise you, it gets its claws into you. That's a lovely goal from Odegaard right there, and that should be enough. We're going to drop back down to that balanced mentality that we started the game on, if I can press the right buttons. There you go. Like I say, console controls, they become second nature in time, but I play almost exclusively on PC. The only time I ever really play on console is when I'm testing these console versions, or if I have a couple of weeks on holiday and take my Switch with me, which is why I say I play it more on the Switch than I do on either of the home consoles, because I play it all day, every day in my office as my job. There you go. We're going to have to bring Reece Nelson on for Martinelli. We've not had a lot of luck with injuries for this first friendly, but I think it's demonstrated enough of how the game looks, how the game plays. It's certainly not a laggy, clunky mess like it always has the potential to be. It's always the fear when it comes onto a console that it might just perform really poorly. And to me, graphically, it looks like Football Manager. It's running nice and smooth. It's doing everything that I'm expecting it to do. As a console version, I think it's a pretty good port, and it does everything that it says on the tin. Whatever was holding it back for those 2 or 3 months where it wasn't releasing on PlayStation despite being out and everything else, whatever was causing that issue does certainly seem to have been resolved, because this is all working really rather nicely. I don't think we need to see the rest of this game. We can probably have it on in the background while I say goodbye. I think I've shown you everything you need to see. If you have any further questions, let me know down in the comment section. I'll be happy to answer any questions you've got about the console version of FM down there. Or if you're on the fence about which version to buy, like I say, I've got videos on the channel of all versions of FM23 from mobile all the way up to PC with all the console versions, even a Steam Deck one. We've played it on everything, so feel free to check those out. And again, ask any questions you want to ask in the comments for those videos. But we will leave this video here. Hopefully it has been helpful. Let me know down in the comments one way or the other. Leave a thumbs up if it has, or just if you've enjoyed hanging out with me for a few minutes. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. There's lots more daily Football Manager content all over the channel. Thank you very much for watching.